The old folks whispered about the dark road. They said it was cursed. They said stay away, especially at night. The road wound through dense woods. The trees seemed to reach out, their branches like skeletal fingers. The moon, a sliver in the sky, cast long, eerie shadows. No one dared to travel the dark road after dark. No one except Michael.
Ghosts? Curses? Really? He didn't believe in any of it. Not one bit. Just old wives' tales, he muttered, starting his car. Stories to scare children, he thought. He had to take a shortcut tonight. The usual route was closed for repairs. The dark road was the only way. It was notorious for its eerie atmosphere.
Michael scoffed at the stories. He was a man of science, after all. He drove past the faded warning sign. It warned of dangers ahead, but he paid no mind. A shiver ran down his spine. He shook it off, attributing it to the cold night air. Just the cold, he told himself. Nothing more. The wind howled through the trees. It sounded like a mournful cry, almost human. He rolled up his window, trying to shut out the sound, but the unease lingered.
The car headlights flickered, then died, plunging the road into an eerie darkness. He slammed his foot on the brake, the sudden stop jolting him forward. The car screeched to a halt, the sound echoing through the empty night. He tried the ignition again, desperately turning the key, but the engine remained silent. Nothing. He was stranded, in the dark, on the dark road. Panic began to set in as he realized how isolated he was.
Then he saw her, a shadowy figure emerging from the darkness, a figure in a white dress almost glowing in the dim light, standing in the middle of the road, unmoving as if waiting for him. Her face was hidden by long dark hair, adding to the unsettling aura. Michael's heart pounded in his chest, each beat louder than the last. He fumbled for his phone, his hands shaking uncontrollably. No signal. He was completely cut off, alone with the mysterious figure. The figure in white started walking towards the car, slowly, deliberately. Her movements were almost hypnotic, drawing him in with an eerie grace that sent chills down his spine. The night was silent save for the soft rustling of leaves and the distant hoot of an owl. The air grew colder with each step she took, her eyes locked onto the car, unblinking and intense.
He slammed the car into reverse. His heart pounded in his chest as he fumbled with the gear shift, his hands trembling. The urgency of the situation made his movements frantic and uncoordinated. He had to get out of there. The fear was palpable, a suffocating presence that clouded his judgment. He could feel the weight of her gaze even as he tried to escape. He backed up, tires screeching until he hit something solid. A tree. The impact jolted him, and for a moment everything went black. The car's rear end crumpled against the trunk, the sound of metal against wood echoing in the stillness of the night.
He turned, his eyes searching the darkness for the figure. Panic set in as he scanned the area, hoping she hadn't gotten closer. The shadows seemed to move, playing tricks on his mind. But she was gone. Vanished. The spot where she had stood was now empty, as if she had never been there. The silence was deafening, amplifying his fear. Michael finally managed to start the car. His hands were still shaking, but he forced himself to focus. The engine roared to life, a small comfort in the overwhelming darkness. He sped away, never looking back. The road ahead was a blur. His only thought was to put as much distance between himself and that place as possible. But he knew, deep down, that the dark road wasn't finished with him. The sense of dread lingered, a constant reminder of the night's events. He could still feel her presence, cold and menacing. It was as if she was right there with him, a ghostly shadow that refused to let go. The haunting had only just begun.